Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles, minister and hypnotist, and welcome to Power Talk, my podcast where I cover topics that interest me, focusing on how you can use the power of your mind to take control of your life. If you want to know more about my professional work or sign up for my free e-newsletter Power Lines, check out my website, which I'll tag in the description. Well, before I start today, I want to do a shout out to my viewers who noticed that this podcast is starting to look different. You've got good eyes. We're stepping up our podcast game here at my practice, and I hope you like the improvements. I'm currently waiting for the arrival of a new camera system, which should improve things even more, so stay tuned. Well, today I want to talk about a technique that has been at the core of my philosophical and spiritual life since I was a young boy: the craft of keeping a journal. I'll describe some of the methods I've used and what I use now. My goal is to motivate you to give journal keeping a try because you will be amazed if you do. Now, journals have been around for a very long time. The ancient Stoic philosopher, once emperor of Rome, Marcus Aurelius, kept one. It survived him and has now gone on to become one of the greatest philosophical books of all time. I keep a cased leather-bound edition at my desk. I love it that much. But as I read it, I remember that the words were not something Marcus Aurelius wrote for others to read. He was writing as a way of saying things to himself. Now, journals can be in any form. They're an amazingly flexible tool. They can be bound, loose leaf, or digital, and each has its strong and weak points. A bound journal forces you to keep your mistakes and the things you may have written but would like to later pretend you hadn't. There's a self-honesty advantage in that. On the other hand, a bound journal can be hard to organize, and they take up space, especially if you want to keep them after they're full. Many years ago, I wrote part of a curriculum for my denomination called Odyssey 4, and it was about the use of keeping a bound journal. I used a system of marginal notes to tag information so it could be later found. That sort of thing works reasonably well, and many other systems of journal keeping use something of the sort. In the loose leaf format, it would be hard to find a better example than the intensive journal process of Dr. Ira Progoff, published by an organization called Dialogue House. They're still teaching it, and you can find out more on their website, www.intensivejournal.org. The Progoff method uses a series of dividers in a large ring notebook. You segregate different sorts of journal entries under the appropriate tab, and that tab section provides a very flexible structure. A major feature of the intensive journal process is that you don't just use it to record what happened to you recently, although there is a section for that. Instead, there are specific exercises you do, such as writing a dialogue between parts of yourself or with other people you imagine. It's an amazing system, but it is clunky and it takes a lot of time. You can have a journal for just a particular purpose, such as a dedicated dream journal or a gratitude journal, and I've kept both. Or you can have one document that includes things like both of those and uses other sorts of entries and has some sort of way of categorizing them. That's what I do now. These days, I use the bullet journal system developed by writer Carroll. His book about the technique is readily available, and there are many YouTube videos by him and other bullet journalists, as we like to call ourselves, about the method. Some people get very elaborate with their journal, and it becomes almost like an arts and crafts scrapbook. Others use a more minimalistic approach. Writer Carroll is a fan of a written journal, a bound book, as he believes that the act of writing helps the deeper process of thought and reflection. And I think he's right, although I shifted to a digital version after about a year of keeping a physical journal. I made that switch simply because I do find keyboarding to be intuitive, and I appreciate the fact that the clutter that came from having a physical volume open on my desk all day was a problem, but your mileage may vary. Here are some observations that come from my life as a journal keeper. First, the primary benefit of any form of journal is that it takes things that are subjective, such as your thoughts and feelings, and makes them objective, words on a page or screen. Taking something subjective and making it objective is a huge thing. Once you have expressed your thoughts and feelings in an objective way, your mind processes them very differently. You will instinctively find yourself using logic, self-questioning, cognitive correction on those things. Whereas if you had kept these things subjective in your head, they could easily have become distorted or exaggerated. Second, the more you journal, the easier it becomes. Soon you will find yourself turning to your journal to record events and process ideas because you know that you will do better if you make that move. You will make improved decisions. You will respond rather than reacting, all the while creating for yourself a record so you can go back and figure out exactly when something happened after time has passed and memory has become less accurate. Your journal will help you connect the dots and see patterns in your behaviors and thoughts that you might not otherwise see, and you will learn what triggers you and what you do best. Third, the fact that you take the time to write in your journal reinforces the idea that you are important and worthy in your subconscious mind. It shows the deeper part of you that you're worth the time. And that builds self-respect, and I can't emphasize that one enough. And finally, your journal is a place where you can say things you're unwilling to say anywhere else. This is especially the case with a digital journal that can be locked behind a password. That security lets you be honest with yourself in a way you might not otherwise be. Well, if you're not a journal keeper now, but you think you might want to be, my advice is just to get started. Don't put it off until you find the perfect book or the perfect program or the perfect pen. Don't wait until you have formalized how you want to organize things. Just start writing. The benefits will be along quickly, and you'll organize them as you go forward. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject. I'd like to invite you to join me. It helps me a lot if you let others know about my videos, so please like, share, and subscribe. If you're wondering if I can be of help to you, feel free to reach out through my website for a free, no obligation screening call, and we'll find out. Have a great week.